Assalamualaikum class. Starting with your activity number 11. Here you have to collect pictures of different blood cells, and then you are supposed to paste those pictures over here in the given blank, and you are supposed to write their function in the given space. I am going to explain few of them to you, and then you are supposed to write those functions over here and to paste pictures from of these over here in the given blank. So first of all, red blood cells. Red blood cells usually play their role in exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Then the second part is of platelets. Platelets help in blood clotting. Then the white blood cells. There are many types of white blood cells, but the basic function of white blood cells is to fight against infection. So you are supposed to paste these pictures in these pictures, or you can take on your own. You are going to paste these pictures in the given blank, in the given space, and you are supposed to write these function over there. Activity number 13, in which you are supposed to explain the process that how peat become coal. So peat is basically the first byproduct of in the formation of coal. So peat is first transferred into lignite. Lignite is the second byproduct, and when the temperature is further increased, then the sediments like the lignite is being transferred into sediment, and these sediment piled up on the top of the decaying organic matter, which is being used for the formation of coal. So in this process, like first of all, by increasing a temperature to some extent, peat is formed, then peat is transferred into lignite, and then further increasing temperature, the sediments are piled up at the top of that decaying organic matter of which we are using for the formation of coal. So by this process, the peat is being transferred into coal. So for the purpose of converting peat into coal, we should bury peat about 4 to 10 kilometers deep into the soil. So second is about, you have to discuss the importance or the advantage of using line graph, this graph over bar chart. So if we are talking about the changes, short-term changes, like the changes that are occurring in short period of time, we used to prefer to use line graph over bar graph. Like if you remember, during the period of COVID, the graph which are showing the number of cases occurring per day uses this line graph, because for short-term changes we used to prefer this line graph over this bar graph. Now moving toward your activity number 14, that is about the different that you have to differentiate between the two terms, like the wind pollinated flower and the insect pollinated flower, and you are supposed to label the diagram. This is the first diagram, and I am going to show you the next one on the next page. So this is the insect pollinated flower, and the second one is wind pollinated flower. You should be familiar with the term insect pollinated and wind pollinated flower. Insect pollinated are the flower in which the pollination is taken by the help of insects, and in wind pollinated flower, the transfer of pollen grain usually held by the help of wind. So you have to differentiate between two. First of all, the wind pollinated flowers are usually dull in color. They have dull petal, and insect pollinated flower have bright petals because they are supposed to attract insects. Then wind pollinated flower are small, the insect pollinated flower are large. Then the wind pollinated flower are the pollen grain of wind pollinated flower are usually dry, and the pollen grain of insect pollinated flower are sticky in nature because they have to stick to the insect. Now moving toward your activity number 15, in which you are supposed to collect pictures of fruits. Like I have drawn apple over here, but you are supposed to collect and paste the pictures of flower, like if of fruit of your choice. Like if you like apple, you are going to collect pictures of apple and you are going to paste it over here in the given space. Like you are going to take any two other fruits of your own choice. Your activity number 16 from class 6. Here you have to mention few examples and uses of alkalis, and after that we are going to discuss about photosynthesis, and you are supposed to write a chemical equation. First of all, you have to mention example for alkalis, that is NaOH, the sodium hydroxide, CaOH, the lime water, and NH3, the ammonia. The uses for alkalis are like the toiletries such as soap, shampoo that you are using in your daily life contain alkali. Then some medicines like the indigestion medicines or the gastric medicines contain alkalis. After that, the baking powder that you usually uses in baking product in your kitchen is a best example of alkali. Then coming toward the second part, that is the photosynthesis. So as you are familiar with the term photosynthesis, that it is a process in which the producers or the plant uses sunlight to make food. So photosynthesis basically uses carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight, like the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and water from the soil in the presence of sunlight, and then by the process it is converted into glucose, that is C6H12O6, and then the oxygen, the byproduct, is released into the environment. You are going to write best definition for photosynthesis over here, and then you are supposed to mention the equation and you have to label it like this is the carbon dioxide, this is water, this is glucose and oxygen, and you have to mention sunlight over here in the presence of which the process is occurring. Activity number 17 from class 6. Here you have to differentiate between breathing and respiration. Usually we used to confuse these two terms. We think that breathing and respiration are the same processes, but this is not the way. Breathing is something else and respiration is something else. I am going to explain a simple introduction about these two terms, and then you are supposed to write at least 4 to 5 differences over here. Like breathing is a physical process. We are physically involved in breathing, like we exhale air and we inhale air. Then it uses ATP. Like ATP is the form of energy that our body uses. So breathing is, first of all, it is a physical process, then it uses energy, and in breathing we take fresh air from the air into that is taken into the lungs, and then after the exchange of gases the carbon dioxide is removed out. Then the process is of respiration. Respiration is a biochemical process, mean that this process occur within cell. This process usually generate ATP. In breathing we uses energy, and in the respiration we generate energy. And it is a process in which the glucose is breakdown. Here breathing, as you can now clearly see the difference in between two terms. Like in breathing we are taking the air and then we are exhaling it out of our body, and in respiration it is occurring in cell and the glucose is breaking down. So these two terms are clearly differentiated. Now you are supposed to write 2 to 3 difference over here. Your activity number 18 from class 6. Here you have to mention a few functions for these organs, like for stomach, for heart and for brain. First of all, coming towards stomach. Stomach is an organ that is involved in digestion process. So the function for stomach is it stores food, it uses acid to break down food that we have swallowed, and the last one is that after the digestion or the breakdown of food, the stomach send that mixture to the duodenum and then to the small intestine, from where the required material is being absorbed and the waste product is excreted out. Then coming toward the next organ, that is heart. Heart usually perform function related to the pumping of oxygenated blood to all part of body. Oxygenated blood usually provide our body with oxygen. It maintains the blood pressure, and it also receives deoxygenated blood, like the blood that has poor oxygen, from all around the body, and then heart supposed to pump it to the lungs, where the deoxygenated blood is converted into oxygenated blood. Then coming toward the third organ, that is the brain. Brain usually control our thoughts and decision, the things we are thinking about and the decisions we are going to take is controlled by our brain. Then the movements we are making, like if we're moving our hands, if we are moving our legs, all these is controlled by brain. Then the regulation of organ functions, like if the function of heart is taking place, or if the stomach is performing its function, then brain is also involved in controlling the function of these organs. Then the speech, like if we are talking, and the language function, if we are supposed to speak English language, and if we are going to speak Urdu language, or any of our mother languages, then our brain is making all the decisions, and it is supposed to perform all the functions. Now moving towards end, have a courage to live your life the way you want. Thank you so much. Love.